Welcome Estates, your trusted partner for finding dream homes in Costa Blanca, Spain. Beautiful new build villas, seaside apartments, and country fincas. Start your journey today at welcomeestates.com and let us find your perfect home.
Well, hello everybody. Welcome back to another episode of our online podcast, the Welcome to the Sun podcast, powered by Welcome Estates. I'm Aky, and as always, I am joined by the dynamic duo, of course, from Welcome Estates. We've got Colin and Lisa, Batman and Robin. I'll let you work out which one's which. But good morning to you both.
Being called worse, Aky.
It's good to see you this morning. We've got a great show. We've got a lot to get through because we've got some different topics going on today. We're going to be decoding the latest market trends. We're going to be getting expert mortgage advice. We're going to be answering questions. We've got properties of the week. We've got everything going on. So it's going to be a great show today. And before we sort of introduce our first guest, I just thought I'd ask you guys for our sort of update on the market, our traditional update on the market. How's everything going at the minute?
But we're now October. God, the year's nearly over, isn't it?
Nearly gone.
This year's been a bit crazy, to be honest. I think it's been the highest demand for property in the past. Well, definitely pre-COVID. Mm-hmm. Definitely it's grown and grown. Even just after lockdown, when we had a massive increase because of people who couldn't buy for that 18 months, that sort of went down a little bit and plateaued, and it's just gone up since then.
Mm-hmm. And October, November, December, traditionally very busy months.
September was an unbelievably busy month. We're on about the 8th now, and it's still going strong.
Are you seeing key trends emerging for 2026? Is there anything you're noticing a lot, and that's going to continue into next year?
I think we're seeing a lot more people buy off plan. I think that's a definite one, and I think a lot of that is to do with supply and demand.
Yeah,
I think it is. There's that many people wanting to purchase, and there's not as many resales available all the time, or to the spec they want, or in the area that they want. And obviously, the new developments give people a lot more choice. I think this is not necessarily because people want to, because they have to. Budgets have gone up.
Budgets have it.
Average price sale that we're selling has definitely gone up this year.
Yeah. And it was interesting to, Chris and I just visited you guys out there. It was interesting to see some real client experiences of their buying process. All of their properties now have gone up dramatically in value. So a lot of them were saying if they'd done this now, it would have been much, much harder financially.
Yeah, without a doubt. But by the time you reserve a property and get the keys, maybe 12, 18 months later for a new build, it's already gone up in price.
And that's probably why we're seeing a lot more mortgage buys, because when we first started doing these podcasts, and not too many people were buying with mortgages, and now we are seeing that people are buying with mortgages. And this segues perfectly into our special guest this morning. We're joined by Martine Newman. Here she is, Martine. Good morning. Great to have you with us.
Thank you.
Martine is from Mortgages Direct. She has over 20 years experience in finance with giants like Lloyds and Deutsche Bank. And she now uses that expertise to secure the best deals for buyers in Spain. So, like I say, Martine, a huge welcome. And Colin, Lisa, how do you guys work together? How does it all come together?
Well, Martine helps us when we have clients who require mortgage funding. And as we kind of alluded to just a couple of minutes ago there, we've certainly found that over the last 3 years, mortgages for us are becoming much more prevalent now, because, the price of property has gone up significantly. I mean, over the last 2 years where we are, we're looking at around 35% increases. So for anybody who sat on the hands for 2 years, which does happen, they're now seeing the rugs being pulled from them from a cash buyer perspective, and they're having to look at alternative funding options. Not everybody wants to spend all the cash as well, Aky. I have this conversation quite often with people, and how many people would buy a home in the UK and use virtually every penny they had? They would probably look to fund it. So, you know, a lot of smart money goes into mortgages. It's not just people who can't afford what they want because prices have gone up. You know, people who are maybe looking to do other things with the cash, they look at that kind of thing anyway. Martine, can I ask, just before we go any further, it sounds a little bit like Cilla Black on Blind Date, is to tell us who you are and where you're from, and just a little bit about, you know, your company's regulation and what your real speciality is.
Yeah, so I started in finance when I left school. I didn't go to college. I managed to get a job with Lloyd's to start off with, and I started with personal loans and then progressed to second mortgages, remortgages, purchases. So I've done the whole lot. I've done it all throughout the UK, and then I moved to Canada for 9 years, and had a bit of hiatus from mortgages.
Okay.
Brexit then was looming, and we wanted to move a bit closer to our home country of the UK, but not back to their weather. So we decided then on Spain, which is obviously where I've been here now for 7 years, and doing this job for 6. So Mortgage Direct actually approached me. They found out that my history in mortgages would have been a good fit within their organisation. So I've been working with all the Spanish banks and been regulated with the Bank of Spain now for 7 years, nearly 7 years. So all of us advisors at Mortgage Direct are regulated, and the company itself as well. So we are able and legal to give mortgage advice. Not a lot of brokers out there they can place you with a bank, but they can't tell you the reasons surrounding that and why they put you with that bank. But
so that's quite a critical point. And so just as you would if you were, you know, using a broker in the UK, it's important to have that regulation for that financial protection behind you.
Yeah, that's right. Like I said, we have to renew our qualifications every year, so we keep updated with you know, the financial side of Spain, and we're then able to pass that information on and assist with why we're recommending certain banks, and you know, the personal fit with the client.
Okay, cool.
I know you guys have got some questions as well, and I've got a couple as well, to be honest, because it's such an interesting topic. And I was going to ask you actually to start with the elephant in the room, which is the interest rates, what the current landscape is, whether it's fixed or variable rates in Spain. What are the trends, and what advice you have for clients right now?
Yeah, so the rates in Spain are one of the lowest in Europe, even with non-residents. So there's one thing to note. When you say non-resident, the banks are looking at your tax residency. So if you don't pay your income taxes in Spain, you're classed as a non-resident. Even if you live in Spain and you still pay your taxes in the UK, you're classed as a non-resident. It's not necessarily where you are living, it's where your taxes, where your income taxes are paid. So for non-residents, non-tax residents, we can aim to get a fixed rate of anything between kind of 2.8% to 3.5%. It depends on the profile of your application. The banks here, they'll give you a rate based on the merits of your application. So it's difficult to be 100% sure of what a client would look to achieve. But I would say probably around about the 3% mark would be the norm.
Which is very competitive. Bearing in mind as well, if you're converting your money from sterling, you've already got a 15% head start on that as well.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you mentioned Brexit a couple of times as well, Martine, and that's a thing becoming even more of a topic now, especially when buying in Spain. And you know, a lot of people sometimes message into the show and say, is it even possible to get a mortgage as a non-resident? And they have a lot of fears about that. But you're here to sort of alleviate those fears, I believe.
Yeah, they do have a lot of fears. Well, you get two types of people. You get the type of people that will know all about the criteria of mortgages in the UK, and then they just assume that the banks here in Spain are going to be the same. They can be in for a big shock when we ask certain questions and they don't qualify for some reason that they would in the UK. But they have to remember that this is generally a second home that they're buying, so the banks are going to be a little bit more cautious.
Yeah,
and then you get the other kind of people that that know nothing about the rates, the criteria, and they're easier to kind of go through and explain the reasons why the banks have certain criteria in place.
So on that then, Martine, right at the start of the process, for us, we always want people to know that it's not the same as the UK. And the easiest place we find to start is to find out what the deposit requirements are, because that's significantly different, isn't it?
Yes, yeah. So more often than not, the minimum deposit that a non-resident will need is 30%. So the banks will not lend any more than 70% on a mortgage if you're not living and working and paying taxes in Spain. There's another thing that I think people need to be aware of, and that's the registration of the land that the properties are being built on. If you're looking for if you're looking for a regular urban property on urban land, then 70% is the maximum. Sometimes people's budget will take them out of a town or out of a city, and then they start to look more into the campo kind of rustic areas.
Rural land thinkers, yeah.
Yeah, for fixers, the Brits love a good fixer-upper. So sometimes these properties can actually be on rustic registered land, which is a little bit like a Grade 2 listed building. It means that you have to approach the town hall for anything, for painting the property, for changing any uses of rooms. So the banks, the land per square meter is actually worth a bit less than urban land, and the banks will only lend up to 60% of the value of that property. So then you would need a 40% deposit. And then we have the stamp duty, which I'm sure we're going to come on to, which is a lot higher than the UK. However, everything else when you get here is a lot cheaper, so it kind of compensates. But the stamp duty in Spain is generally 10% of the value of the property. However, I know there are some areas between kind of 6 to 8%, depending on the islands, and also I think further south.
Murphy is 8% as an example.
It's 8%, is it? Yeah. I think Madrid is 6%.
Yeah,
but the rest is, I think if you work on about 10%, then you should be in the right ballpark.
And I'm right in saying as well, so those transfer taxes, as we would call them, they can't be added to the loan either. So you need that as part of your deposit criteria as well, don't you?
Yeah. So no fees can be added to the mortgage. Everything needs to be paid on the day of completion, and that's something that the bank will do for you. They'll do that on your behalf.
Okay. So if we were to look at an example then, so somebody buying a €200,000 apartment, they would need a minimum of 30% deposit, assuming it's obviously...
Is 70% quite... Is that quite common to get 70% for a non-resident, or is it quite achievable?
It is quite achievable, providing the debt to income side of things work as well, and that's a whole different calculation. It's one that it's not 5 times your income like it is in the UK. It's quite a long calculation to work out, but 70% with I would say most banks. There are some banks that have really good rates, but 60% is the maximum that they will go to. If they really like the application and it's all got the bells and whistles, then they might go to 70%. But
So really what you're saying there is then from that perspective, when you include your transfer taxes, you're going to need somewhere between 40 and 50% in cash, aren't
That's
you?
right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. We normally work on 43 to 45% of the value of the property or the purchase price. Yeah.
So that's the key starting point for anybody watching. If you're
That's
looking to
interesting.
get it's not just a case like in the UK where you need 5 or 10%. You're going to need nearly half of the money.
Yes. I would
Perfect.
say so.
So that's a really good start. So if you haven't got that sort of cash deposit, a mortgage, and probably a property in Spain is not really doable for you. But you just mentioned an application that had bells and whistles on it. What does that look
That's
like
what I was
to
gonna ask.
somebody?
Yeah.
What does that look like?
Of course. So the banks in Spain will score the application. It's a computer says no kind of situation. So
Don't you love computers?
they will put everything into their computer, and it will come up almost like a traffic light system. So a green application would look something along the lines of longevity in jobs. So you've been in your job 10 plus years. You've got your job is something like a professional position. They like if you're self-employed, they like a minimum of 3 to 5 years because they like to see previous tax returns. And things like age is a good scorer as well. Anything I would say from 30 to 55 would probably score quite well. So you can see the kind of trend that the bank's looking for, kind of, youngish to middle-aged, good income, longevity in job. You haven't been switching out your jobs every 3 years. And then, you start gaining points. And then that would come back with a really good rate. Then you have kind of the middle ground where maybe you haven't been in your job that long, or you're getting pensions. Pensions you would think are a really good source of income because they're for life, but sometimes depending on the application they can with the age it can score slightly lower. And then red, we would never send an application to the bank that we think that's gonna fail. So that probably would lead us on to our decision in principle process. That's what I would do. I would go through a fact find and then decide whether I think we'd have a good fit, a good bank. And if there's something that maybe doesn't work right now that might work in 6 months' time, then that's something that we can plan for. Maybe paying a credit card off, or paying a loan down, or you haven't been in your job quite long enough.
That's something that they look at quite a bit in Spain, don't they? They look at income versus expenses going out, and people are quite surprised sometimes at what they look at going out.
Yeah. What about people who don't have credit cards? They don't, because I don't have a credit card, for example. I've never had one. Are there other ways to show that you're good at repaying debts? Will they look at your current mortgage situation? Would they look at, what are the big red flags that they're really looking for like that?
Yeah. So I know a lot of countries, I mean, England and also the US, people are really bothered about their score, and if their score isn't a certain amount. And, the banks in Spain don't bother about score. Score isn't a big thing for them here. However, the score does reflect your profile. So, if you're not on the voters roll and you don't have any credit, and you'd literally just get 2 lines on a credit search, then they're going to start questioning it. But they will look at your current rent repayments or your current mortgage repayments. They'll want to cross-reference things like your mortgage statement with the payments that are going out of your bank account. They want to make sure that what you're contracted to pay, you are paying. So there are ways. If you don't have any finance, it's not a bad thing, actually. The banks don't want you to, have lots of credit cards and loans. But yeah, they can cross-reference your bank statements.
And what about when the loan has to be repaid by them, Martine? What kind of age would a bank look for that debt to be settled?
Yeah, so most banks want the mortgage to be repaid by the age of 75. If you are, if you're in your, say, late 50s, early 60s, the banks know that, generally speaking, your retirement age is 65 to 67. Even if it goes up, I think that's the kind of age that they're going to hold on to. So if you're approaching retirement age, they might not take your income into account. They'll look on your pensions. They want to see what your forecast is, especially private
that's ultimately
pensions.
what's going to pay it off in the final years anyway, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly right. They don't want you to have a mortgage for 3 years, with 6,000 a year, 6,000 a month income, and then suddenly drop to 2,000. They need to be responsible in their lending. So that's when the pension information would be needed. But we do have a couple of banks that will go up to the age of 80, but that's
You're all right. Okay.
they have specific criteria.
I'm feeling better. I was just about to get
Martina, part of your role would be to actually assist the client because the client may have the finances and have everything in order, but not necessarily know how to present it. So one of your key roles would be to assist, say, someone who goes to Welcome Estates to buy. They would then be referred to you, and you would assist them in presenting this mortgage package to the banks.
Yeah, absolutely. The banks here, they don't like you as a client going in and just handing them a load of paperwork. There's a lot of things that the banks don't want. There's some quirky things that the banks do want, and some things have to be translated. So we put the application together in a neat package for them, as they would expect from us, as we've been doing Mortgage Direct for nearly 20 years now. So we've got a good relationship with specific head offices that are dedicated to deal with our clients. So yeah, everything gets packaged up and put into folders and with explanations, and then it makes for a much quicker process.
Would you agree as well, Martine? Because what we talk about a lot on these podcasts is preparation and planning. All of any purchase about preparation and planning, and it's way before, even with us guys, way before you put your feet hit the ground and you start viewing properties. And we always say to people, you can help us do our job more by good communication and good relationship. And I imagine it's the same with you. If people don't give you the time to send you the correct documentation, that's when things can get a little bit messy, because what you don't want to be doing is putting a half-done application in because they haven't put the time in. Because as soon as you do that and a red flag comes off, that's when things get complicated. What you need from your clients is the same as us. You need that input and that time to get the right application together.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, we won't put a half application into any of the banks because it reduces our professionalism with the banks, and they won't even look at it because they have to cross-reference a lot of the information. So there's no point in having a credit search without bank statements, because this is what you should be paying and this is what you are paying. And if they can't see the correlation between the two, they won't even look at the application. So it has to be 99 to 100% there for them to give it any thought.
And customers and clients need to give you the time to be able to do that and give you the information that's requested, and obviously follow your lead.
Yes.
Martine, you mentioned earlier about you pull the rate out of about 3%, and you mentioned fixed rates. Is that quite different to the UK with regards to the mortgage offering in Spain? Tell us what somebody would likely see when they take out a mortgage.
Yeah, for sure. So the fixed rates, they offer really two types of rates. So you can have a variable rate that's always fixed for the first year. The banks like you to just get into a routine, know what you're paying, and then it will go on to the variable rate. Now, some banks will vary that rate every 6 months or every 12 months. They don't do it monthly. If there's a rate hike or a rate decline, they won't change it automatically. They just review it every 6 to 12 months. With a fixed rate, they will fix it for the full term. There's no in between.
So different to the UK. I've just got one of mine again. It feels like it comes around all the time. Your mortgage up for renewal.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they
it
fix
does.
it for the full term. The only difference is really the redemption penalties. So if you're thinking of chunking down your mortgage or paying it off within a few years, then generally speaking, the variable rate is the best way to go, because the redemption penalties are a lot lower, or they're zero, depending on the
Because
mortgage.
they've had to buy that cash, they've had to forward purchase that
Right.
cash. So
Yes.
therefore,
Yeah. So this is why they charge a redemption penalty on the fixed rate mortgages, and the standard is 2% in the first 10 years of whatever you want to overpay, and then 1.5% thereafter. But a good thing to note as well on the side is that under the Bank of Spain regulation, if you come to pay your mortgage off and the bank are not making a loss themselves, they cannot legally charge you a redemption penalty. So the guidelines of the redemption penalties are a cap. They can't charge you any more than that, but they can actually charge you less. And there is some calculation, again, on a computer that will tell you whether you're going to get charged a redemption penalty or not. And they can't work that out today. It will have to be when you're looking to pay the mortgage off. So, but it's something that's worth noting. If you're going to pay a chunk off your mortgage, they might be able to say, don't do it now, do it in 6 months' time, because there'll be no penalty.
Okay, brilliant.
This is great. Do you have another question, Colin?
Yeah. So Mr. and Mrs. Smith, they're coming to Spain on the 1st of November. They've indicated to us that they need a mortgage. What's the best advice before they get on a plane?
Fill in our affordability form. There's no cost. It takes probably about 10 to 15 minutes. The banks here will actually work on your net income and not your annual income. So that's just worth bearing in mind. But absolutely fill in the form, because then I can have a look through and I can tell you, you might be looking at a place for 300,000, but the figures work to something at 350. So then at least you know when you're going around to visit properties that you could opt for that other bedroom if you really wanted to. So and in reverse as well, I don't want people coming out and putting deposits on proposies that are likely non-refundable,
and neither do we.
Just to know that the mortgage is then.
How often do you get people who have been put in contact with you but we haven't really done that work beforehand, and they get here in Spain, fall in love with something, and then the pressure's on Martine. We love it. We want to pay a deposit. Can I have an answer? Can I have an answer?
And
it must happen so often, because we see it, and obviously you'll do mortgages all the time, and we see it, and they're desperate. They fell in love with something, absolutely desperate.
But then they put themselves under pressure.
And then the pressure is on them, because obviously from your point of view, how the market and how often are people losing properties just because they haven't done that form before they've come out?
It's so sad. And on one hand, I just want to say, why did you do that? And on the other hand, then I'm working 12 hours a day, weekends, fiestas, just because I want to find a solution. I'm not suggesting that anyone do this, because it's really hard work and the banks don't like it. And we put pressure on the banks, and then we've got clients and agents and lawyers putting pressure on us. It's just not a nice situation for anyone to be in. So we need to take a few steps back. I know people get excited when they come to Spain and the sun's shining and the sea's warm, but we need to work out if the banks are going to lend first. So absolutely fill in the affordability form. Let me take a look. I'll give you my honest opinion, and then you'll know what your budget is, and whether there's a bank out there to suit your circumstances.
And that's key as well. It's pointless looking at that. You're just wasting your own time. It's pointless looking at those 300,000 euro, whatever they are, villas or apartments, if your budget's 200, because you just wasted your own time.
And it's all that stress and anxiety and people losing the property that they want or losing deposits. It is all avoidable as we continuously pre-planning before you step and allow that journey to be what it should be, guided by experts like us and you, and it be stress-free.
The other thing I would say as well is even if somebody doesn't lose money, there's a high probability they'll actually lose the house, because they come out, they've done no pre-plan, and they then say, I need an emergency mortgage. You know, things can't be done overnight. Martine can only call so many favours in at once. And, you know, if that process takes 7-10 days or whatever it is, the chances are somebody else will have sneaked in ahead of them and reserved that property anyway. So it led to nothing in the end quite often.
Yeah, you wouldn't do it in the UK though, either, would you?
You wouldn't.
You go to the bank and you get a budget,
UK.
wouldn't you? So I don't. Yeah, it seems to be a trend over here that, like I say, people just get the sea air in their hair, and then suddenly they put down a deposit on a property they can't afford.
And we'll quite often, Martine, I would say maybe once a fortnight, we'll get an email from a developer saying unit number, whatever it is now back on the market. And we can guarantee 99% of the reason that would be is somebody's gone in, they've fallen in love with it, they've slapped on a 10 grand deposit, and lo and behold, they can't get the funding in place and they've lost the money. And it happens routinely.
And it's no good for anybody. I know, like, some agents will just be, let's just get the deposit down and we can sort it all afterwards. But at the end of the day, if they cannot proceed, if they cannot get the mortgage, if we cannot get them to notary, nobody's achieved anything apart from disappointment and maybe a loss of so many £1,000, which will then completely change your journey and your experience. And we see it. We see it. But not as much for our clients now, because we do the preparation.
See it with a lot of others.
Yeah. We have a lot of people come to us after that experience.
After they've lost.
Yeah.
Martine, just on that subject then, so I mentioned new builds there and off plan. So quite often somebody will be reserving a property and it might not be ready for 9, 12, 15, 18 months. How does your process differ there then from an off plan perspective?
So we still need the affordability form, because there's no point in starting paying your deposits on this property when you've, with your situation as it is, and you've got no chance of getting a mortgage. So we need to get the grassroots down and done first. Make sure that, there is a possibility of a mortgage. And then once there is, providing the bank criteria doesn't change, or you don't change your financial situation, don't take out car finance or don't go and buy a second property, providing you keep your financial information the same, there shouldn't be any reason why the banks won't mortgage that final payment. They can't mortgage the payments in between, but they can mortgage the final payment. So again, it's on my advice to get the affordability form done, just so that you have an idea. And even then, it could be that I can say to you, well, mortgage could be available, but you might need to pay off a credit card over the next year or 18 months, or pay down a loan, or, that kind of thing. But don't change your jobs either, because again, it goes back to this scoring system. If you change your job and you've been doing one for 10 years and now you're suddenly in one for 6 months, that score's going to go down. So, the chances of the bank, not honouring that decision in principle could be quite strong. Don't change your circumstances. Sometimes they're inevitable, but you just have to have a backup plan if the mortgage isn't available right at the end.
So again, though, that there's a lot of laying the groundwork for that, isn't there? So what, don't be buying an extra Bentley. Don't be changing your job. Don't be taking on loads of credit card debt. So as long as your profile remains the same, then all good. It's interesting, there's been so much more to that conversation there, Martine, and I've learned so much. We'll quite often, say to people, tell us what you know about Spanish mortgages, and the first thing out of the mouth is I can get 70%, but there's so much more to it than that, isn't there?
Yeah, there absolutely is. Yeah.
We've got a small apartment on our books at the moment, and I can't tell you how many people I've spoken to over the last couple of weeks who want to put an offer in and we want to get a loan. And okay, so what deposit have you got? This apartment is about 102,
which is rare. We don't get many.
Which we don't get very. I've got 10 or 20,000 euros, and I understand that in other countries that is the case, but here in Spain, it really isn't. I know you're a lot more precise than us, and you mentioned like 42 to 40 something percent before, but we always say to people, sort of like rule of thumb, if you can afford 50%, that allows you. sometimes they may 70, depends on circumstances, it might be 60. So you do still need that much cash.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would say so. There's no point in going in and literally clearing out your life savings and having nothing left. You know, you don't know what's around the corner. And going back on that, we mentioned possible cash buyers. You know, people are now looking to get a mortgage. You said about savvy people get mortgages, and they absolutely do, because there's not, I get so many American clients or foreign clients that have got pension pots of millions, but they won't spend that money. They will always get a mortgage because the mortgage rate is so much lower than what they can invest in. So, it's worth keeping your investments and having that mortgage. It just, you don't think of it. I think us Brits are just like, we want a house, but we don't want a mortgage. We want to pay it off as quick as we can. But another thing to note is that if you do pay your mortgage off in Spain and you get it right down and it's gone and you think that's great, and then suddenly a life event happens and you need 50,000 euros and you think to yourself, I'll go and refinance, I'll take it out the equity of my property. You can't do that in Spain. You can do it in the UK. I mean, you can borrow for anything in the UK, but here in Spain, you can't. So don't be too quick to spend all your savings or to buy a property in cash or to pay your mortgage off really quickly. I mean, theoretically, nobody wants a mortgage. I get that. But, it's cheap lending. And, you just don't know when you're going to need that nest egg in the bank.
Have you noticed a volume of increased mortgage applications this year? Because we are seeing it in our business completely. Up until this year, I could count on two hands each year how many UK clients applied for a mortgage.
Wow, okay.
This year, it's gone, especially for the UK market. Okay. Other nationalities different, but for the UK market, it was predominantly cash buyers.
I think it's what Martine's saying there. Mortgage is almost a dirty word to some people, but when you actually change the outlook on what it can actually do for you, and you leave investments in place that might be making 6%, 7%, 8% a year, then why would you forego that to not pay 3%? It's madness. So it's just looking at it differently, isn't it?
Yeah. And you mentioned earlier about the new builds. You're asking about a shift in market. I'm busier year on year, and you can just see with Mortgage Direct how many staff that we're bringing on, month after month. I think when I joined, there was about 6 advisors, and now there's 30. So, it's right. It's certainly a busy market, but. So I just think that having a mortgage in place it makes a lot more sense. You said about the new builds earlier. I again 100% agree. I've done quite a few new builds or set up clients for new builds recently because they cannot find what they're looking for. They want to get into a property as soon as possible, but the spec and the area and even the cost, I think, they can spread out the deposit payments over the next year or 18 months and then mortgage the last payment. But they're certainly creeping up in popularity for sure.
I find as well with the new builds, it allows people to start the planning and preparation a little bit quicker because there is a payment plan. And I just say to people, okay, you want to be in that property next year. We understand. If you do, if you're able to do that, and especially with a mortgage, they will need to have that 50%. So should be able to. Let's look now. Let's get you the best plot. Let's get the best area before we go to the next phase in that development next year, which the price has gone up. We can start that now. You don't need all your funds available until here.
And when the banks come to do the valuations on these properties, the markup and the value that's gone onto them already, it is quite incredible. I mean, I'm not saying that it's always going to go up the rate that it's going up at the moment, but you can buy a property, say, for, 400,000. And then when it comes to be valued, which some of them are at the moment for me, as I've done the process a couple of years ago, are 60, 70, 80,000 worth 60, 70, 80,000 more than what they actually paid for.
Yeah.
And is it still the case, Martine, as well on that, which is a good point? Sometimes we find with resale properties that when the mortgage come to value them, they undervalue what they may be up currently on the market now, where new builds, they don't do that.
It's a possibility. That the thing with the market at the moment, I think over the general trend since COVID, and we've had a bit of a spike in sales, is the fact that I know it's demand, and there's not a lot on the market at the moment. So sellers will think, oh, I'll add another 10 or 20,000 onto the purchase price, and people are paying it because they want that property, and it's worth that to them. But on paper, when the valuation, the bank gets the valuation done, it can come in less. The valuers are not looking to specifically bring the prices down of properties, but they will try and match the purchase price. But in some instances, they can see that the property's been overvalued.
And I guess from a point of view of the bank, the risks mitigated somewhat by the fact that they're getting a minimum 30% deposit anyway. So
the banks will still work on the purchase price or the valuation of the property, whichever's the lower figure. So if the valuation does come in lower, they will work up to 70% of that figure.
Yeah. I have never known a bank, though, value a new build lower than what the build is.
No.
Yeah. So we never have that problem.
No.
It's resale sometimes.
Yes.
Resale sometimes, like you say, property is worth what somebody wants to sell it for, and what somebody's willing to pay for. And in a market like this, yes, somebody may be willing to pay that little bit more to get what they want. Because even the resale price, they're still not quite at the new build prices, but bank can sometimes not match the valuation.
Yeah,
Martine,
you've normally got instant equity in a new build.
Yeah.
It's also worth noting as well that the Bank of Spain, when they regulated the mortgage market in 2019, they actually said to the banks that you must let clients get their own valuation if they want to. So, it doesn't have to go through the bank. The bank don't have any say on which valuer they use either. It goes into a pot and they kind of pick out a name. So it's not that they're they've got any favoritism towards any valuers, but the clients can actually get their own valuation done, providing the valuers registered with the Bank of Spain. So that's worth noting as well.
Just one final thing then, Martine. We've been talking about new build, we've been talking about resale. What's the kind of feeling within the mortgage world with regards to the upcoming EU the energy performance, by 2030 and 33? How's that being dealt with?
Well, I think it's a good thing, really, that we all need to be a little bit more energy conscious. I don't know how the energy certificates are going to differ. It might be that people are going to be a bit more conscious about solar. I'm sure that will bring, the classification of your energy, to a better rating. But I think it puts the onus a little bit more on sellers as to, what are we going to need to put in place now for the future to try and make us, the property more energy efficient. And I think
people had the other day, Martine, a client who wanted to put an offer in, who was getting a mortgage, but before he put the offer in, the bank for the mortgage wanted the energy certificate. The valuers actually won't. Some banks need the energy certificate for the valuer even to go out and value the property. So it is becoming more of a thing now. So maybe that's the reason why we never know the answer. But obviously, the new builds seem to be more popular at the moment, and this could be another reason why, because obviously the energy rate, they're built to spec today with this in mind, and the energy rating is where it needs to be when this new we've actually got a bank that will give you 0.5% off of your interest rate
if you have an A or an A plus rating.
Really?
That's interesting.
Ah,
So there you
didn't
go.
know that.
So that's
Yeah.
for the vast majority of new builds.
Well, I've learnt lots today, Martine.
I've
Thank
learnt
you.
loads.
Aki, any more questions over there from you?
I've learned loads. No, you've answered everything, and it's been fantastic, actionable advice, really. So anyone looking for expert guidance, you know where to come. You need to come to the new favourite of the channel, and that's Martine. do you want to give everybody your website link that they can contact you on, Martine?
I'm sure I'll pop it over to Colin and Lisa, and then
We've got
We'll put it
a
in the
link.
comments.
We'll put it
We'll put it
on
in
the
the
there
comments.
you go.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Send us your affordability, because I know you've got your individual little questionnaire that you send out. Send us that as
Yeah,
well.
that's
So
right.
your
Yeah.
website and your affordability checker will be on
Perfect.
just
Yeah,
as
I can
we
do that
start
for
getting
you.
back by another wasp.
Sounds good.
It's been fascinating, Martine, and it's been so detailed, and I feel like people will have learnt a lot there. So thank you so much for joining us this morning.
You're very welcome.
Hey, well, we've learned
Pleasure.
things, which is
Yeah.
great. Yeah.
Yeah. Every day's a school day.
Yeah.
Take
Thank
care,
you very
Thanks,
much.
Martine.
All the
Go and
best.
enjoy
Take
your
care.
coffee.
Thanks. Bye.
So
Thank you.
some fantastic advice. No, really, genuinely,
really interesting.
That was
yeah,
incredible,
really
that.
interesting.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah,
and all
brilliant.
the questions I was about to ask, you guys were asking, and it's stuff that people want to know. So it was brilliant.
It's questions that we get asked all the time, and it helps us. Then no one can ever answer we can only talk about trends and what we see as a company and what we see in the market at this moment in time. But obviously everybody has their own rationale and reasons for why they want a mortgage, or if they want new or resale. Everyone's got that, but it does show you that there's these reasons for why things are changing at this moment in time.
Yeah.
And what I really liked about that is we put it down to the prices going up, and maybe people are just getting wiser in the sense of,
I think
why free up all that? Why
put all the capital in, sink it all into one ship? That is how I look at things.
I never paid cash for a property in the UK.
Well, you don't.
You just don't do it.
It's not a thing you do.
Most people loan or lease or PP, whatever it's called, PCP, the cars as well. How many people really go to a car showroom and go, here's £80,000 of my money?
Most things are on credit. Big things are on credit.
Yeah.
Even sofas can be on credit.
Yeah.
This kitchen was on credit. So,
and I understand that people. I think the problem sometimes is that people are planning for retirement and they don't want to go into something at this
point. They want to be debt free.
But it's the same protection over there. You can get it over a shorter term, and you can still keep that nest egg for other things that may come up, or invest in something else, or anything. Get on what they call a bit of crypto.
No,
I don't do
that.
I don't do very well on that.
Let's not talk about your crypto, shall we?
No, brilliant, great section there, and I hope the viewers have learned a lot there from Martine. We're going to move on to look at some questions here, but Martine has actually answered the buying process questions. So let's look at let's look at the ones that are on the screen. So that makes my job a lot easier, doesn't it? So let's look at what the best time of year to come and view properties is, because I've been out there a few times now, and I could say to people every time of year is a great time to visit you guys in La Finca. But what do you feel is the best time of year for clients?
Just don't come in July or August, because I'm really grumpy.
I was about to say.
And I'm pretty grumpy as it goes anyway, but I'm like extra grumpy because I'm just like absolutely boiling. So if you want to see the best of me, or just don't see me, just don't come in July and August, please. But any other time.
Yeah. We always have trends, and we have trends depending on the world around us. So you find that July and August, not just because Colin's grumpy, but because it is really hot and flight prices are really high because of school holidays.
Builders are closed as well a lot of the time.
They do put great offers on over the summer, though. They do sometimes. They can put great offers on, but they always do that going into the selling season now. So September, October and November are always a really good time to come over. We find then that we probably go a little bit quieter December, January. Then the whole world decides after Christmas, when they are skin and it's cold and wet, that they want to buy. So our inquiries go up massive at the beginning of the year.
Yep.
But again, people tend to come out March, April, May.
in all seriousness, though, Aki, there is actually a proper answer without me being facetious. What I would always say to somebody, if you're going to be buying a holiday home, come at the point of the year where you think you're going to be using it the most, because that's the point in the year, that's the time frame you're going to use it.
That makes sense.
I would say to anybody who's going to relocate, which we have many, come and see the place where you want to live at its very worst. So January, February, because that's the most, I'll call them miserable months, but you know what I mean in comparison. But that is the time where you'll see all of the permanent residents are there. So, you know, if you want to be part of a community, be there and see the place at its very worst, so you're not looking through everything through rose-tinted spectacles.
Do you know what as well, though? It doesn't matter when you come. What it's about is being ready and being prepared. Then, Dave, you're ready financially and you know what you want and where you want to be. Why put it off for 3-6 months if we sell houses every day of the week? Would you believe? We're open Monday to Friday. We speak to people Saturday and Sunday every week, evenings. You can buy a house any day of the week. It's not about when the best time to buy over here is. It's when you're ready.
Yeah. All right. Thank you very much for answering that. It makes sense, complete sense. Let's have a look at what the main difference is between the Costa Blanca North and the Costa Blanca South, because that's an interesting differentiation as well, isn't it?
Yeah, I can't afford Costa Blanca now. No, that's simply price. Yeah. Price is a big difference.
Yeah, there's a few differences. So to give you an example, I had a client out last week, and we were looking in the Altair area, a very exclusive area, very very wealthy, in the hills, ridiculous sea views, and the properties there were like 2.5 million euros, which we rarely see a 2.5 million euro villa in this area. In general, if you want to be very generalistic about it, Costa Blanca North is more expensive, yes. The climate is slightly different. If you fly over it in an aircraft, the Costa Blanca North has a slightly higher rainfall than Costa Blanca South, and the temperatures are slightly cooler. And the Costa Blanca North has a little bit more infrastructure that the Costa Blanca South doesn't yet have. So, for instance, you have a tram that runs up from, through Alicante all the way up north. We don't yet have that in the south, but I'm sure we will at some point. So I would say they're the three main differences, and probably an indicator on why it's more expensive as well.
Okay, thank you very much, Colin. So this is actually one which we were gonna. This came in on the YouTube channel, and actually I thought it would be quite simple, but you said to me, no, actually this is not a straight cut question. So how do I get my car cleaned in Spain? Are there car washers like in the UK, or can I do it myself? Who wants? Do you know the back?
It's interesting because it sounds like a really silly question. Well, but it's not, because in answer to your questions, where do you get your car clean? Yes, there's car washes everywhere. You can go and do your car. But the interesting thing about this question is that I think this is where it's come from, is you're not allowed to clean your car at home.
Which I did not know, actually.
Yeah, so Sunday morning, hose pipes are not allowed outside giving your car a scrub. And it's all to do with the drainage. Spain isn't set up like the UK is, because it doesn't rain anywhere near as much. They don't have as much excess water. So that the drainage system is just not as good.
Yeah, the street drains just aren't there.
So they're just not there. So obviously, if someone starts hosing the car down, it doesn't drain off quickly. So they're just not allowed to do it. But there is car washes everywhere.
Yeah. Okay, there we go. simple answer, but a good one, because people would, because I do actually wash mine on the drive. So.
No, people wouldn't know. You just wouldn't know that you can't do that, to be honest.
Yeah. Okay.
Until they get the knock on the door, or someone says, "Oh, you shouldn't be doing that."
This is a good question, because people do plan for the next generation. Obviously, inheritance tax is becoming a big issue in England. Actually, massive issue here.
I like this question, because this is all about planning and preparation again. Because when we go to the shows and we speak to the solicitors, if this is a situation that is going to happen, there is things you can do right from the beginning. A solicitor in Spain would probably advise you to buy it in your children's name at the point of purchase, because in Spain you can buy it in your children's name and there's a certain term for it, but you've got
just a life interest. Yeah,
you've got like a life right to
usufructa.
Yeah, you can put it in where it is your property and you've got right to reside there for life, but it's in their name, therefore
it's not part of your estate when you die.
No inheritance.
All right.
But you need the correct advice from a proper regulated lawyer to do that.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
And when it comes to inheritance taxes, we can't answer what percentage it is, because it will completely differ depending on what country, what situation. If you're a resident, if your children's a resident, it completely differs.
Children different.
But I just keep sounding like a parrot. Me planning and preparation. Let's get all these answers before we start.
I'm going to get you a badge, a picture for your wall, planning and preparation.
I said it to Tommy last night, because he came home and he got a behavioural point, and he's been doing so well at school. Like he was telling you, he's been doing so well, and then he got a behavioural point.
Oh, is that a bad thing then?
Yeah, so you get good ones and bad ones, and we have a little competition going at the minute. And he was dead upset, and it was because he'd not done his homework. And he said, "But we've had a busy weekend, Mum. We was at the wedding." And I said, "And?"
I want to ask you about the wedding as well, actually. Firstly,
there was lots of time in between. He was like, "Well, it's not my fault." I said, "It was your fault. If you would have prepped, if you would have planned, if you would have known you had a busy weekend and scheduled your homework in, you wouldn't have those points." He was like, "Thanks, Mum." Like, yep. Life lesson.
The wedding itself, actually, I mean, that gives a great insight into, the lifestyle in Spain.
Yeah.
I saw the pictures. It looks fantastic.
Yeah.
Look at this.
So Chris has seen the pictures too. Yeah, that was so we had it on Saturday. It was really, really nice. It's hard for us sometimes because obviously there's lots of people out at the moment. Bex and James, who got married, they are from the UK, and us. There was some of us from Spain, but the majority of people have come out from England. So it's been lovely. A lot of young families with young children come out. They all had the wedding itself was over at the Thinker Hotel, which was absolutely beautiful. But not only the wedding day, they've had an absolutely brilliant week. I know we talk about Tommy's favourite hobby, but they all went go-karting on Monday and did a big, massive Grand Prix. There was like 40 people there and 20 people doing the Grand Prix, and it was a brilliant afternoon.
I bet Tommy won.
Well, Tommy actually, out of everybody, came third, but he was only allowed on a 270 car, and everybody else was on a 400. So I think he did pretty well, to be honest.
He did well there.
Yeah,
these pictures are great, by the way. Yeah. It looks like a great day.
Yeah.
And
it was absolutely beautiful. The weather was probably too hot for me. They was loving it. The boys' jackets, as you see, Carl's not got his jacket on there. The jackets lasted the whole of 10 minutes, but we got some nice photos. But it was absolutely beautiful. They're planning. It was a wedding that they've been planning for the last couple of years. It was just stunning from start to finish.
How does that work then? You might not know this, putting you on the spot. How does it work from a legality? Do you have to have somebody from the UK do the ceremony?
No, so you legally cannot get married in Spain.
Right.
That has
I know
to be,
a lot of people go to Gibraltar, don't
that has to be done. Spain's not one of the countries. It has to be done pre or post.
Right.
So the actual logistics.
So it was a ceremony.
So the actual logistics. There is some countries where you can, but Spain is not one of them. So no one will ever know when that was done, if that makes sense. But it's the legality has to be done in England. It can't be done in Spain.
Brilliant. Well, again, it's just highlighting here the pictures. I'm getting jealous because of the sun and everything like this, but it just shows you the lifestyle.
Yeah, that was Saturday. Look at the weather on Saturday. I mean, what was it like with you, Aky? Was it a bit wet? Would you have been wearing a lovely bright coloured dress like that on Saturday?
I probably would, but just to myself in my room, just for my own little kids. Oh, there's another question. Let's quickly move on. So, what are the most common costs that buyers forget to budget for? Going back to the Q&As.
Well, that's a good question.
I would say furniture. Would you not think furniture and things like that?
I would say either if it's a holiday home, replacing furniture that you don't necessarily like, but You know, if it's furnished, it'll give you a start. And if it's relocation as well, actually getting your furniture over here potentially, and cars and
visa applications,
all that,
maybe
all that stuff could just mount up on it.
Because buying the actual property, we would always estimate the cost, so people come under budget. I only mean slightly, but like we say 15%, it might come in at 13.5 or 14. We always don't want anyone to go short, and that covers from buying the property. That covers everything from the property to your legal fees to your notary. You don't really need to know the ins and outs of that because we've already given you a sum of what it will cost. But I would say new build furniture sometimes. I think furniture, that's why our 1% voucher always comes in handy, because people do forget sometimes that, especially with new builds. I think that's why when we talk about property, I keep the same property again. This fully furnished property just literally new build flies out. It's unbelievable.
We can't
And I said to you the other day, didn't I? said, what is making it so popular? It's everything. So from your lighting to your furniture to your what else?
Literally, the only thing we haven't got is a television.
Goods. Yeah. So it's just the only thing you need to buy.
You can get that with your 1% voucher.
Yeah.
I tell you what, we see a lot of, Aky, and this is when somebody's relocating. So when we talk to somebody at the very early stages of relocating, and they've obviously got to do all the normal things like sell the UK property, is they might initially think, I've got a budget of 400,000 euros, because what they're doing is they're taking what they're going to be able to sell their property for in the UK, and that's where their kind of budget value starts. When we get a little bit further down the road with them, and when we get into the specific budgeting and pathway for visas, if their income isn't sufficient enough, without going into the whys and wherefores, they've got to hold a ton of money in banks to be able to top up that income every year to be able to qualify for the visa. So what we see an awful lot of is somebody, before doing all of the planning, might have thought that they were going to have a budget of 400, might all of a sudden have a budget of 250. And that's because they're having to hold this extra cash on account to be able to qualify for visas. We see that happen all the time. So the key there is when we're talking to anybody about relocating, we need to get you on this relocation pathway as soon as possible before you do anything in the UK. So you understand what the qualification criteria is, and then you're actually going to understand what your budget is far quicker. But that happens on a weekly basis.
The other one we're seeing a lot of at the moment as well is exchange rate.
Yes.
Yep. So the exchange rate. So obviously exchange rates across the world change all the time. England, America, the value changes. So that can make a big difference in somebody's purchase if it drops or goes up. And that's why in some ways it's always good. You can secure your rate at point
forward purchase.
You can forward purchase, but just to make sure, because it can make a difference when you have thousands of pounds.
Oh yeah, huge. Massive
difference. Yeah. Oh, good point there, Colin. It's often the things you don't realise that are going to hit you in the budget there.
Pocket.
I believe, was that our last question, or did we have one more? I believe. Well, maybe that was our last question. So, guys, there's been a lot of good questions there, and I always feel like we give the viewers who are tuning in, it hits the mark, because we're answering questions that they might seem, pretty obvious at first, but really when you actually drill down, it's important to know them. And that's why they need to get on a viewing trip with you. They need to book in with a viewing trip with you guys. So tell us about this. We've got a video on the YouTube channel, which actually shows the viewing apartment, which is beautiful. We just stayed in there. It was great. But tell us a bit more about the package that you guys offer with this 3-day viewing trip.
Do you want me to go through that?
Can do. Yep.
Okay.
You do them.
Yeah, I suppose. So first things first, we'll pick you up from the airport. We'll drop you off at the airport, as long as your flight's not 5 o'clock in the morning. We will obviously get you settled into the apartment, which most people will have seen the video for now. We can put the link down in comments, I'm sure. So the viewing trip basically is 3 days where all of your viewings will be pre-approved by yourself. So there'll be a full schedule, and that schedule can also include any lawyers' appointments, any notary appointments, meeting with currency experts for currency exchange, etc. But the key is to the planning of all of this, the real legwork that
I'm
goes
glad you're
into
listening to me now. Planning and
Thanks.
preparation. Yeah.
Thanks. She's got the poster. Am I getting better?
Yeah.
Thanks. It's the pre-planning. It's the weeks in advance of understanding what you want, understanding what your needs are, understanding where you want to be. It's not just throw a dart at a dozen properties over the course of 3 days and hope for the best. Which, to be honest, a lot of people take that approach to viewing. Let's just throw a dart and hope one of them sticks. It's all of the pre-planning.
Yeah. Just, you know what might fall nicely into this is we've just been to Birmingham. Okay, so I think with the last podcast, we've just been to Birmingham for 3 days. We was talking to our clients a lot about stages and what stage they are in. So talk about the stages we spoke about, and obviously what category a viewing trip.
Yeah. Okay. So of the hundreds of people a week we speak to, it's quite easy for us to identify at what pathway somebody is within the buying process. So the first person that we speak to is what we refer to as a hobbyist. And a hobbyist is somebody who they click on the internet all the time. They might watch all of the property shows on TV.
Really dream of having a property in some.
Yeah. It's a bit of a pipe dream at this stage. They don't really know anything about what it takes to purchase a property, so they don't understand what it would take to actually get the right result. But at this stage, it's all just a bit of a dream, but they enjoy doing it. It's enjoyable for them. The next stage is somebody who we call as being engaged. So it's still a dream. They still watch all the property shows. They still do all the clicking, but they've actually engaged some professional assistants to actually find out just a bit more about what it might actually take to get that property in the end. So they might have spoken to a lawyer. They might have engaged with an estate agent. They might have actually turned up at a Place in the Sun exhibition.
They might have actually been out viewing, but they're still only engaged.
Yeah.
They're not. People can be not at the final stage, but actually physically walking around properties.
Correct. And might not even have the funds in place yet. And honestly, Aky, that is such a common thing with us. We get requests all the time. Oh, can you take us and see these 5 properties? I haven't got any money yet, but you simply couldn't do that in the UK, could you?
No.
You just couldn't.
Yeah.
No, because you have to have your mortgage in principle before a lot of the agents will even entertain you. Actually, yeah.
And the final stage is what we call a prime buyer, and a prime buyer is somebody who knows where they want to be. They've done the legwork, they've done the research, they've got funds in place, or the mortgage approval, and they're basically in a headspace where they're mentally ready now to just jump off the cliff. And all this person needs is somebody to hold the hand to put the final piece of the jigsaw in place, because it's us who know the properties and know how to get them past that final finishing line. So those are the 3 stages. Now, for somebody with a viewing trip, it's probably, they definitely need to be a prime buyer, but it's our job to work together to get them from that second stage up to the 3rd stage to be that prime buyer, to be ready to mentally commit to something.
And I think that's a massive part of our job. I think that's the biggest part of our job, is to help people identify where they are and what we need to do for them to get,
and what they need to do as well,
to get
it's a two-way street.
where they need to be a prime buyer. Because it's really, if you want that, we need to do this, and this is how together as a team Colin will do this with you, and like we talk about all the time, and that will be done before you come on this viewing trip. And the viewing trip then should not be pressurized, should not be stressful. It should be enjoyable, because all the hard work has been done before. You've got somebody with you who you trust, who knows what you want and has got your best interest there. It is not a hard sell, and you will find the area, find the property, and proceed because we've got you to a point where you're not going to come out and, oh, I'm still not quite there, and lose that property or fall in love with something and it not be there. You are ready to go, and you are a strong candidate to put down an offer or be first in line to get the property that you want.
Yeah, we get people, I wouldn't say on a daily basis, but we must get 3 a week. We get people who walk into our office. We can identify them the second they open the door. They look absolutely as sick as a chip. And they sit down in front of us and we say, how can we help you? And basically what they've done, they've came out without any plans whatsoever. They've just traipsed around agent after agent, and they've been dragged around property after property. The agents know nothing about them. And then they just say, can you help? And then, can we do this properly now? Because just being dragged around properties is not a professional service. We get clients all the time. Oh yeah, I've met so-and-so, and they're just going to take me out and view a few properties. That is not a state agency. We're not
door openers. We're not. That's not what we're here to do. Our job is way beyond that. And when we do it right, which we do, it is definitely not just a case of, don't get me wrong, if you've done the work, you have to open less doors.
You shouldn't need to.
You shouldn't need to open a million doors, because
if you do, we haven't done our job right.
But the viewing trips are a great success, and it's a nice environment to have the right dedicated time with somebody and not be pulled from pillar to post, from different agents to different properties to different areas, but a lot of the time not seeing what you want or what you've asked for, and you feel like you've wasted money then on. I mean, it costs to come out. People have to take time off work, they have to flights, they have to, it's time is money for a lot of people that we're dealing with. You don't need to be doing this for 6 months. Do your homework, as I told Tommy last night. Do your homework, do your planning, do your preparation, and something like this would be perfect for you.
It's an interesting comment though, Lisa, because you say you don't need to be doing this for 6 months. So we've got people on our database who've been doing this for 10 years. They haven't, by the way, been doing it, but they're in the database from 10 years ago.
And the chances are that they will be in the same place in our database 10 years from now.
10 years from now, I won't be.
You won't be.
You have hired me long before then. No, it was interesting though, Aky, because we had a couple of clients out 3 weeks ago, and they were booked in a 3-day viewing trip. Walked into the first property, fell in love with it, bought it, had their solicitor notary appointment early in the afternoon, and then had 2 days off and laid around the pool.
Great. What are you going to do with yourselves now?
Sounds like a great viewing trip.
Enjoy what you just got. I think that's it now on viewing trips. But just to let people know as well that Aky and Chris was over in Spain last week, so we've got loads of great content coming to the channel.
Oh yeah, loads of great content at home with the crab trees. We've got actual sit-down conversations with some of your previous clients and their story and their process. I mean, it's a great trip.
Inquiry when it comes.
Yeah, a really good video that's going to come out. I don't think it's live yet, but we actually show somebody or show you guys, the viewers, what happens to your inquiry and how your name on our screen, email, how that becomes you buying a property for in however long it will be from there. So I think that'll be a really, really helpful video for people. We even got
there'll be some Oscar nominations in that video. Some fantastic acting in that video. So I think all around you need to tune in. It's been a great show, really. It's been incredible insight from Martine. Thank you guys for sharing your passion and answering the questions that have come in from viewers. If you're watching this and you're just dreaming at the minute, no problem. Get onto the YouTube and Instagram and the TikTok for your daily dose of Spanish inspiration. If you're actually ready to take the next step and you're ready to do some more research, get onto Welcome Estates. Browse the website, browse the information there, and look at the extensive property portfolio. And if you are ready to take that final leap, where the life-changing step, you've just heard, guys, you've got viewing trips there ready for you, ready, available, and these guys will be more than happy to have you over there for the viewing trip. It's been a great chat, guys, and I think you've got the rest of your morning ahead of you. And so I'm going to love you and leave you guys. Is there anything you want to say?
No, that's right.
Been brilliant, Aky. Thank you.
We will speak to you again soon, I am sure.
Absolutely. See you guys next time.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Welcome Estates, your trusted partner for finding dream homes in Costa Blanca, Spain. Beautiful new build villas, seaside apartments, and country fincas. Start your journey today at welcomeestates.com and let us find your perfect home.